Hello, everybody. Over in the World Language Teachers Lounge, Gianfranco Conti started this great discussion about why is listening so difficult for students. And I piped in with what I do for listening exercises. And a lot of people are asking me about it. So here is my explanation. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, Japanese out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Come talk to me at the Teacher Excellence Lounge or the World Language Teacher Lounge, where this discussion started, or I could be found at Minecraft Teacher Lounge, Minecraft Education Ambassadors, Roxem, Duolingo Educators Network, Wayground Game Changers, and Art in Spanish class. And I also hang around with the NASEF people and anywhere cool nerds are hanging around. So time was 100 years ago when I first started teaching. I was a good little girl and I worked out of the textbook. And by golly, textbooks are boring. And they're so artificial. Like this one, I can still hear his head. I can still hear his voice. You will hear each statement twice. Okay, this is from Realidades Auténtico. But I mean, it's so artificial. Okay, it's just like isolated things. And I really want my students to hear language in the wild. So let me give you an example of what I do. This is for my French class. This famous YouTuber, and I show them the thumbnail, and I give them the title, and I say, take out a piece of scratch paper. I want you to make a list of what you think the person's going to say. And I tell them they can use English here. They can code switch, because I really feel like if they say, oh, he's going to say he hates peanuts, because I'm allergic to peanuts. He hates peanuts. What's the word for peanuts? Como dit-on peanuts en français? And I'm going to say, all right, write down peanuts in English, because I think you're going to be primed to hear it if he says it. Okay. So I want them to be having the productive struggle. And so I let them write a little bit of English here. All right, and then I narrow it down for them after I've given them, maybe 3 minutes of what do you think he's going to say. I'm going to say, okay, for this one, what kind of computer problems does he hate? All right, and they probably don't know those words in French, but it's okay. Again, they can write in English at this point, and that way I think that they're ready to hear it. They're listening explicitly for it. It'll stick further, I think. Okay, what kind of phone problems, what kind of food problems, what kind of friend problems, what kind of problems in the bathroom, because of course kids like that kind of humor. It's actually about the light switch, okay? And then I want them to think while they're listening, I always want them to be thinking, were you correct? What do you want to add? What do you want to fix? And at this point forward, they're just writing in the target language. Okay, after one time listening, and these are always short videos, very short videos. After one time listening, then I let them buddy up with someone to compare. I don't want them, I have, my table groups are 6 people big. I don't want them working 6 people because one person's working, 5 people are sitting passively. I want them talking to a buddy, okay? Add and subtract is necessary. What did your friend hear that you didn't hear? What are you going to listen for the second time I play the video? Okay, and then while you're listening, where did you disagree with your partner? Where did you agree with your partner? What didn't you understand the first time that now you know? Because now you've seen the video, so you know what to expect. What words are you figuring out? Okay, and then we reconstruct whole class. Or at least I hope we can reconstruct a whole class. This year the students have very, very low stamina, and it's been difficult. I'm going to be quite honest with you. It's been difficult to get to this point. Okay, but on a good day, we can reconstruct whole class. We can listen to it a third time, or I just ask the students what they heard, and you see how much blank space I have here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, so that I can write on the board in front of them. Oh, and it's a listening thing, and I never, ever, ever count down for spelling in a listening exercise. I know in French it's really crucial to spell things properly. I don't count off on it in a listening exercise because I want them to be focused on listening. Because if they're worried about spelling, they kind of stop dead in their tracks. Okay, and the final listen, verify or disagree. All right, so this is going to be like an information dump of the kinds of things I do this with. News Snippets are really good. Now, I would tell you, as someone who has lived overseas, watching the news can be very draining because the newscasters speak so fast. So this is one reason I like using videos, is that visual scaffolding is there. I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm preparing for the AP exam and there's no visuals on the AP exam. I'm using visual scaffold because I think that in the wild, my students are going to be going to YouTube. They're going to be watching Netflix. They've got the visuals there. I'm using the visual scaffolding. Okay. So this was a news article, news report on the whole 6-7 phenomenon, which has made it up to Canada. And I really liked this one because, the students hear a lot of Parisian French. They hear me speaking. They don't hear a lot of Quebecois. So I really like doing that kind of stuff. Okay, so and again, I'm gonna breeze through this so I don't bore you to pieces. Okay, this is Great Big Story, and yeah, there's subtitles on the bottom, so I just move the screen down a little bit so the students can't see the subtitles. But this is Pounding Mochi, which is a fascinating thing to watch. Advertisements are great because advertisements aren't very long. Okay, they're going to be just a couple minutes long, and so the students are going to be primed to listen for them. So this is a movie trailer. So the trailer is much better than the actual movie. I don't want to watch the actual movie in class because it drags, but the trailer is super exciting. Okay, this was an advertisement with Messi in it, and my students really like football. The soccer, the real soccer that you play with your feet. So they were really excited to see him in this commercial. Japanese commercials are always very funny, and you can find a lot of good ones on YouTube. And I think this one here, I think it's like 16 minutes. So I just make a note of myself of today we're just going to watch minutes 1.5 through 2, or whatever. Oh, there's a lot of really funny YouTubers out there, right? This is Parole de Chat. He just scours the internet for funny cat videos, and then he adds dialogue to them. The students absolutely love this. Oh, and you can also tell, um, I'll have little stars here. I click on that, and that takes me directly to the video, so I don't have to hunt for it. Oops. Try and click here. Oh, I love Kaso Taisho. This is because I love Bunraku, so it's a very Bunraku type show, if you know what that is. All right, it's just really funny. Very cultural. I want very cultural things. There's a lot of good Let's Players out there with playing video games, and I needed my Spanish students to know the word La Mochila at the beginning of the year. They need to know what backpack is, and I happened to find this really short video of some Fortnite players looking for some. I don't play Fortnite. I don't quite know what they're talking about, but the students really ate it up, and they're not forgetting the word La Mochila now. So that was great. This is Juega con Adri. I love them. They're really funny, very, very visual. Here they've got dolls talking. Um, this is a mother-daughter out of Spain. I don't think they've uploaded in a really long time, but my kids really like to watch. I mean, it's very cultural things. Okay, these are hand clapping games, and then after they see a hand clapping game, they want to learn it. That is just great. I mean, you talk about total physical response. What is more total physical response than a hand clapping game? So that was a great one. Um, Casi Creativo is often very funny. Make sure you watch well, I mean, you got to watch any video first because you're going to have to narrow it down for them. But, sometimes he's a little bit of a potty mouth, but again, this was talking about like pastimes, and so we could break out the Chinese jump ropes and play those after they saw that it was popular in Mexico. Um, Comedians are great. Comedians are always going to have little tiny clips. This is Potato Jason, really funny. Okay, and students hear me say that all the time. This guy is not French. He's British. But I could really leverage everything he said. The students really enjoyed this little clip. This a short 4-minute clip of him talking about how he learned French out of a textbook and how artificial the sentences were and how he's going to France trying to use those artificial sentences. And it's really funny. And then I could dovetail it into Where's Brian? Because if they go to France, somebody's going to run up to them and say, Where's Brian? Because uh, that was in an English textbook in France. So this is a popular comedian again. And again, here's my little links so that I can get right to it. Okay. Un Mundo Sin, that whole series is really good. They talk really slow, very visual. Yeah, that's also really good. Oh, another comedian. Funny, very funny. Sometimes I want to show a movie in class, but I don't actually want to show the movie. I told you earlier with Zombilenium, okay? Like, I want the students to know that this movie exists, but I don't necessarily want to show the whole movie. Like I said, I'm really struggling with stamina this year, and although my students used to eat up a lot of stuff, now it's really difficult to hold their attention. Um, I'm going to blame cell phones, okay? If I'm trying to show a movie in class, the students are trying to sneak out their cell phones. So, um, showing piece of the movie though, hey guys, this is what I want you to understand about this movie, and I'll give them the whole context, and then I'll show them 5 minutes of the movie. That works great. And then the students, they get excited about it, and maybe they run home and watch it on their own, but I'm not eating up my precious class time. Here's another, the French movie or TV series that I'm not going to show the whole series, but it's fun, okay? And there's lots of little scenes that are really fun. My Japanese students, sometimes they come to me and they really like Power Rangers. They really like Ultraman. They've never seen Spider-Man in Japanese, and it's a hoot, but I'm not going to show them an entire episode, okay? Spider-Man in Japanese, he has his own giant robot, and it's beautiful. Oh god. Chajimon Ken. Freaky weird, but each episode's only 5 minutes long, and we can really pick it apart and have a hoot about it. And the students are like, what? Because it's just weird. Okay. I don't normally show translations because I really want to work on the culture that's inherent in the language. Spider-Man is not a translation. Okay, I'll show Spider-Man. Bluey has a couple of episodes where Bluey has a friend who speaks French, okay? And I was like really recalcitrant. No, I'm not going to show you Bluey in my class. There's so many other good things. But I've got students who this is high school. They love Bluey. I've got football players, giant football players who come to school dressed in Bluey pajamas. Okay, so obviously I've got to leverage that. I've got to show Bluey, and they do like that. All right, I'm going to breeze through this. I'm already over 10 minutes. Okay, Mickey Mouse, I will always make an exception for. These shorts are absolutely fabulous. Very simple language, and of course, very visual, and always on something that we're working on. So, here's this croissant when we do our food unit, and I can narrow that down for them. Here's, this is about the running of the bulls. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff, so look for that. So, sorry I went over 10 minutes again. Let's recap. Find a short video. It's got to be short. Show the title and the thumbnail or an exciting picture. Okay, and if it's like a long movie, I'll make a note to myself. Show minute 22 through 26, or whatever. Okay, so then ask students to brainstorm on paper. Keep the talking to a minimum because they want to start talking to each other, and I want them thinking themselves. I want them brainstorming themselves. They'll have plenty of time to talk to a friend in a few moments. So keep the talking to a minimum here. But tell your students that they can write in English. They can do some code switching. That's okay because I'm priming them for, hey, this is what you should be listening for. You think that in a movie about making crepes or a short about making crepes, you're going to hear the word crepe? Okay, sure, write it down. You think you're going to hear milk, but you don't know what the word for milk is? All right, write down milk. Now you're primed to listen for it. When he picks up a pitcher of milk, you will probably hear what he says and you'll remember it better. And then I narrow it down for them because I've seen the video and they haven't. Okay, so I have to think really hard about what keywords do I want them to listen for. What words are spoken very clearly that I know they're going to hear. So narrow it down. And then have them listen and write while they listen. Okay, so they're not just listening passively. They are writing. They're crossing out Oh, okay, I didn't hear this. They're adding, oh, I didn't realize when you asked about his problems in the bathroom, you were actually going to talk about the fact that there's a light switch on the outside of the bathroom and someone has just turned off the light switch on the outside of the bathroom. There's a lot of wiring in French houses that are like that. Okay, and then have them compare their list with a friend. All right, there they can talk with their friend. All right, I moved too fast here. Listen again. That's the second time. They can correct and add again, and this time they're much more productive because they've seen it and they know what to expect. And then I used to be able to get to a third or fourth listen. This year it's been difficult. Okay, so lather, rinse, repeat as many times as you can. Have them find new partners, and then if you can reconstruct whole class. Generally, I'll just like reconstruct at least the main things whole class. So sorry that was very long-winded. I had a lot to say about that. I'd like to know what kind of listening exercises you do. If you haven't told me on the World Language Teacher Lounge, comment here. And hope to hear from you. Let's make the world a better place.